Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. On this show, we have conversations with deal makers, and we talk a lot about deals, and you're going to hear deal, deal, deal all day long. But, the thing that's most important to me is hearing the stories, hearing, people's things that they've overcome and sharing advice collectively on this podcast show to make better deal makers. And then the purpose, what I'd like for it to happen is if you're hearing some of our guests and what they're saying resonates with you, their contact information is in the little show notes below. Connect with them directly and be like, hey, what you said was awesome. Thank you for that. And then let's do a deal together, right? That's the mission and purpose of the Deal Scout. Me to find cool deals, cool deal makers. You connect with them. Anyways, enough of me talking. This is not about me. It's about our guests. We have two of them today. So if you're running, jogging, whatever the case may be, and you're just listening in, this is my voice. I'm Josh. I'm your host. And then we have two friends who are going to talk with you about their business and their service to the nation, this beautiful world. And they're going to tell a little bit about what they're doing. So you're going to hear two different voices, Jordan and Charles. So Jordan, let's start with you. Who are you, Jordan?
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much. This is awesome. Thanks for having us on. My name is Jordan, and I am from a small town of Vermont. I'll just kind of gloss over a quick background, and Trey's honestly will probably be pretty similar because we both, after leaving high school, right, went into service, and ended up at West Point. And from West Point, we had met and known each other, and then both commissioned as infantry officers in the Army. So going from the normal like training, airborne, air assault, ranger school, into becoming a platoon leader and infantry officer. We were both stationed at Fort Campbell, and then also met at, well, really reignited our kind of friendship and business partnership at the mortar leader course, because we were both in separate units, mortar platoon leaders. And so leading up to that point, for me, it was just knowing I was going to leave the military someday, and it was such an incredible experience to be in charge of like really 40 men, where you're their first male role model. A lot of times you're their life coach, financial counselor, personal trainer, and mentor, role model. And you're only 22 years old. Sometimes, 23, 24 years old, but it's just like such a wild responsibility to have at such a young age. And so we were pretty focused on that. I mean, I can speak for Trey and myself. We were just kind of focused on that. But as we started to move out of that role and look towards the exit in the military, we're like, wow, we want to do more than just, get the white picket fence and pay our bills and have a corporate job after we leave. We wanted to have freedom of time so that we could have freedom of impact. And a lot of that stemming from our relationship with Jesus and with God. It just wanting to have a profound impact, find our calling as leaders, and utilize our strengths to really build God's kingdom and just make the world better. And there's no greater place to do that than the business world, where because of capitalism and because of what we have in this country, like we have the autonomy to absolutely dominate our space and our industry through teamwork, through leadership, right, and through a combination of tactical prowess and then strategic vision. And so that's what we've been doing. We started in real estate because when you're in the military, you're not allowed to have a W-2 job. You're not allowed to do anything besides the military. But what you can do is invest. So we found that little loophole in that we could invest in real estate together and really turn that into a business, which it is now, a fully functioning business. We have 9 employees, full team, office in Nashville, been scaling and scaling over the years to the point where now we're doing over 2 million in revenue. We have commercial properties, and really just scaling and scaling. And as we're exiting the Army this year, now we're like, okay, this is cool. Like we have a lot of options now, and we can take the business experience that we've learned and we've built and apply this to any business. And now we can leave the military without getting that corporate job that we wanted to avoid. And we do have freedom of time now, and we do have freedom of impact. And so it's been a long journey over the last 4 years, and but now we're in a really cool spot. Both got to experience that military leadership and crucible events through life at an early age, but also set ourselves up for the exit to have freedom of time and navigate the world in a way that we see best.
Yeah, super awesome, and I appreciate you sharing. And our next guest, give yourself an intro and tell us who you are.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Josh, thanks so much for your time. And commonly known as Trey, although on legal documents I got to write it in as Charles.
Yeah, that
Uh,
confused me. I was like, "Hey, here's my friend Charles," but like you go by Trey, and that was super confusing to me as well. I was like, "Am I interviewing the right person?" So, how in the world? All right, before we get into your story, Charles, but how does Trey come in the picture? I didn't know this.
those that are the third in their families can commonly understand my mentality around it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm the third, and so Trey's a fairly common nickname to have. And a nice little four-letter word, quick, easy, and it's easy for me to know the level in which I interact with the person if they're calling me Charles or Trey. So
Got it. Okay, cool. So when you make it into the inner circle, you get
Trey,
start getting to know us. Okay, one day I'm gonna earn that spot there. So during this interview, would you prefer to me to call you Charles or Trey?
you can call me Trey.
All right, I made it. See, we just leveraged the podcast show to make it to the inner circle. All right, so Trey, tell us your origin story of where you got to today.
Yeah, so at a really young age, born and raised in a small town in Alabama, right between Birmingham and Atlanta. Um, and really just, again, at a young age, had the desire and dream to go to West Point. But the focus really all through high school and everything being from the state of Alabama was just football and sports. So grades kind of took a slump. But I still had that target in the back of my mind of where I wanted to be, which was an infantry officer. I wanted to be a platoon leader. I wanted to join the military. That was always a goal. Decided to go ahead and enlist first, and then took the long extended route to finally make my way to West Point and kind of reach the goal. And so I kind of want to make a quick point about that because that's a huge thing where Jordan and I align at as far as our work ethic and determination and really grit overall. With if we have a intent that we want to meet, we're going to do what it takes to get there. And so that was kind of carved in and learned at an early age. I think I have a little bit more perspective on that now than I did at the time. And so very similar to Jordan, time through West Point, the branch in which we chose to serve in. I did one deployment to Syria in 2019, came back from that. I was able to meet my wife, which really that was kind of the start of the shift of priorities in my life. I was on a very determined path in the military, kind of career oriented, go through some different types of trainings and whatnot. And then really, you get married and you're like, oh, I have someone else now that I'm partnered with for life. And so
Forever. Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it just really shifted my mindset. And coincidentally, right at that exact same time is when, as Jordan mentioned earlier, where, we re-engaged in friendship and connection. He was doing some of the DIY real estate investing, if you will. And that really opened the door in my mind of, all right, yeah, there's more to life here. There's more to having impact, to having time and ability and availability and where I want to spend my time. And that's really what it boiled down to. And so we were able to partner together, figure out what would make sense and develop a proof of concept in which we were able to early on. And then from there, we've been able to compound and build and grow, through building some systems, some processes, which is allowing us to essentially just springboard to where we're at now.
Yeah, super cool. So anytime this happens, I want to stand and salute you guys. I'm not going to stand up right now, but like imagine me standing and saluting. Actually, screw this. Like, thank you guys for service members, frontline workers, military, police, and fire. I love you guys, and I appreciate your service and thank you for that. Um, so as you guys were in the military, where did you guys first meet? Like, where did you first lay eyes on each other and become friends?
I would say West Point, we knew of each other. We probably were friendly to each other. We didn't have any like close interactions where we were like on a project or in a class together. But Trey was a year older than me, a year above me. So we crossed paths a few times. Then in the infantry community, you're right, you're always training at the same location. So Fort Benning, Georgia is like the home of the infantry. And then at Fort Campbell, like I had said, we crossed paths there as well. And then once we went to the mortar leader course for our positions as mortar platoon leaders, that's when we really became friends and started talking about life and real estate and options beyond. So yeah, all that to say is we knew of each other and we had pleasant experiences, but it wasn't until mortar leader course at Fort Benning, Georgia, that we uh our friendship started to grow.
How long ago was that?
That was probably 2 or 3 years ago. Probably three
Okay,
years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So Trey, as you guys, you're in the military. You just recently met your wife. Congratulations on that. But Trey, like being in the military, you're working. You get this paycheck that comes in. You got your benefits covered, your health insurance, right? And you've got a mission, right? Like go do this or learn this, and go fly over here and carry a gun and uh, as you're doing that, what made you first start thinking about real estate or business or the life after the military? Because I know that you're meeting your wife kind of changed your priorities of like
Mhm.
maybe career military is not the way. Like, how did that work with you to get into what you're into now?
Yeah, I think it really came down to just having a very limited mindset on what opportunities were possible because I had not personally experienced that with someone else. Because just reading things on the internet or seeing stories or stuff on social media is one thing, but then when you personally know someone that is starting to excel and to do well, and that was really again my interaction with Jordan, where previously I knew very high caliber person, extreme go getter, and then uh, when we engaged in conversation, where I was trying to essentially kind of help him throughout that course because I'd been in that position for a while, and then he kind of by giving back to me in a way, what discussing real estate opportunities and whatnot, because the timing of it all just really aligned perfectly. I was recently married. I'd recently bought my first house again, with the VA loan and taking advantage of that. But then Jordan shared what he was doing with flipping houses, and honestly, at the time, I didn't know what that meant. I had a
Yeah.
very vague understanding of what that was, but he was earning our annual salary on one deal, and that just blew my mind about what was you're capable of doing
Yeah.
when you have a strong work ethic and mindset, and you put your mind towards something. And that from that day onward, I immediately called my wife. She had also had interest in real estate and whatnot, but was allowing me to pursue interest in the military. But it just really kind of recategorized and realigned really what I've been wanting to have, which was freedom of time, availability to be home, to live life on my terms and whatnot. But I didn't know what was possible at the time, and it took me experiencing that with somebody that I knew personally and in person and can see it to really get a good grasp on it.
Being a deal maker is a mind blowing event where like I was a firefighter, and we worked every third day, 24 on 48 off, and I'm working, and how many fires do I have to run into, how many needles do I have to start, how many, all fill in the blank. And I look at my yearly salary at the time, it was like 42 grand. And then I would do a real estate deal and I'd make 14 grand on a deal in a day or a week or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, holy moly, like like there's things that I liked about fire service and I enjoyed it, but I felt like to accomplish my life's goals and the purpose that I feel God called me to, I'd have to be 230 years old by the time I could actually accomplish it through the fire service. Did you
Yeah.
guys experience something similar to that? Let's go to you, Jordan. Like, when you started looking at your first real estate transaction or your first deal, you're looking at your annual salary and, in the military, how many bullets do I need to dodge or how many planes do I need to jump out of or whatever, fill in the blank. And then you saw a deal and you're like, holy moly, there's a huge disconnect between time and value add because of a deal. What did you experience, Jordan?
Yeah, I think it's about, like you said, the time input that leads to a given output. And I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So like little kids selling lemonade, 4th of July, right? Trying to make a few bucks, to when I was just graduated from West Point, like building kitchen tables, like farmhouse style tables to just sell and make some money for. Really stemming from how much energy I had though, and being in a bureaucratic organization like the military, it's hard to have an outlet for that energy without micromanaging or being overbearing, or really just spinning your wheels without any incentive or reward. So I guess all that to say is no matter how hard I work in the military, I might get a positive review from my chain of command or my company commander, but I'm not going to get paid more. I'm not going to get promoted faster. That's kind of all locked in, time and grade and how long I'm in the service and a certain number of months and years, and it's all a formula. So so I had to find an outlet for my energy in a outside of the military where it was a meritocracy, and my performance would yield my results, and my time would yield exponential growth. And so that's how it started for me, and that's how, like, I guess the entrepreneurial spirit grew out of that, and then realizing bang for buck on time, building tables versus flipping real estate was much higher, right, with the latter. So I had mentors, right? It's the classic story. Like, honestly, the Bigger Pockets podcast or the books, like, there's nothing hard about it. All the secrets to be successful or to be a millionaire with a six-pack are already in the books and on the internet. You really just got to go through the process. So bought a house with a VA loan, right? Found a mentor, added value for free in exchange for mentorship, like saved up money, partnered with someone who had capital when I didn't, like did my first flip, reinvested the profits, did a second flip, built systems, right? Hired A players. Like, it's just this standard playbook that leads to exponential growth that is already proven time and time again. And so I followed that playbook, and Trey and I, eventually merged on that path. We built this team, and really now we're at the point where, hey, like, you have intentional systems, you have like leadership to attract A players, and you have some startup capital, and you can do anything in the world, like, especially in the business side. And so that's the point we're at now. Like, dang, like, we really built systems to run effective business. We realize we can hire and attract and retain high quality A players, and now we have the capital to fund our vision and our ideas and our initiatives. So it's like, all right, like, where are we going to stop now? And now the only question is, how can we grow in a controlled manner so that it's not so fast that things crumble?
Yep.
And so now we're in a really cool spot, and it's really exciting.
Trey, you're nodding your head, like, as he's talking, like, what do you agree with? And then we're in this process of this playbook for success, and as you guys are growing and 2 million in revenue and looking to apply your business model to other business types and invest in other business, as he's talking though, you're like nodding your head. There's things that you like really resonate with what he was saying, and he's your business partner, so you guys should be aligned. But like, what was he saying that like really like hit you? And where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think a really key thing that, right, you talk about success, growth, scaling, but you got to be very intentional about what you're saying yes versus what you're saying no to. And that right now is, the path in which we're going down. We want to ensure that we're building strong bridges on, the endeavors that we're going through first, which is extremely important, so that we're actually hitting those retentions, having that, consistency of revenue and growth and culture as well, and identity. And then making sure that we are filtering the possibilities or what may first come on as an opportunity, but potentially could just be a distraction or something that could splinter growth or mindset or whatnot. So we're treading carefully, trying to make, educated, intentional, smart decisions as we continue, right? So that is what resonated with me the most, was right there, especially on the back end of what Jordan was just saying.
So Trey, let's just say we go to a bar or coffee shop or whatever, and we all place our order, and you drop your challenge coin down, and then Jordan drops his. Who's buying the drinks here?
Probably Trey.
Who outranks who is the question, right?
We probably, from West Point graduation, we both have the Secretary of Defense coin.
So that's pretty good. That's a high coin. That could get you.
The only thing that wins is probably Trey's looking at his coins over, or I can see him looking at his coin collection. The only thing that would win would probably be POTUS. I don't know if either of us have that one.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I don't know if
it would be a tie. We'd be splitting the bill.
Yeah, I think we would.
And both paying for me, or no? I'd probably have to pay for you guys because I don't have my challenge coin on.
Yeah, sorry, you've got the bill.
Interesting. All right, so let's talk military tactics applied to business. Let's start with you, Trey. Um, you guys both West Point. So you guys have shown either you're smart or you could hustle, maybe a little bit of both, right? Because West Point is hard to get into and it's hard to complete. So in terms of like what you learned in the military, now applying to the business world, what are you seeing that you guys have this special advantage on people like me who didn't go to West Point or didn't, have that military background? I have different, but not that. What are your thoughts?
I think it probably get boiled down to three main points. I think first, and this is very officership like, would be risk management. Strong correlation on the business side, just how much risk are you willing to take? How do you underwrite that risk? And then what are you going to do to mitigate it? I think there's strong correlations that, at least not necessarily in the literal sense, but with how you essentially like think through that. I think beyond just risk management, it really comes down to the overall leadership of how to deal with certain types of personalities, how you communicate with people, how you instill not only motivation, but then also a strong capability to have accountability, really.
Yeah.
But not in the micromanagement or dictatorship style, right? Because business is not like the military where you have to listen to me because of my rank, or I just told you what to do, or I'm leading by fear. It's honestly very much so the opposite, where you now have to have that vision, mission, purpose, and now get everyone in line and moving towards that. And then the third kind of facet to all that I really believe is probably just so the training and mentorship, the continued refinement overall. It kind of ties a little bit into the leadership piece, but a strong part of being in the military is in your training, and then you're refining, and you're training, and then you're refining. And so us being able to do that on the business side as well, and not just go every day blinded. It's, being intentional about how are we adjusting, how are we training, how are we keeping people moving in the right direction, and having the foresight to make adjustments as needed and have the flexibility. So around those three things, there's others as well, but kind of rank those as my top ones.
Yeah, the only thing I would probably add would just maybe to bundle it all together is just extremely high standards and in a no fail sense. Like when you're mission focused and when you're around a group of people that are like keeping each other alive, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't fail. And so that mentality coupled with extremely high standards in that, like, we've gone through, I think, so many crucible events, Ranger School being an example, but even just all the time that we're just in the shit with people that we're in it with, and doing something that you would never think possible, pushing your limits mentally is the biggest thing. And then coming out of those crucible experiences with the confidence to say, well, if I can go through that, then like this other stuff is easy. And so and this is for anybody in the world, really. It's about like setting your bar for resiliency, and like where that, like the harder you push yourself, or the more uncomfortable you are, the more extreme austere environments you put yourself in, the higher your bar for resiliency is going to be. And the stressors of every day, like being stuck in traffic, are now like nothing. And so I think coming from the military, our resiliency bar is maybe much higher, and the small stressors that maybe get a lot of people down don't touch us. And then now we have really high standards for what's possible and what we can expect out of both ourselves and other people.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, you got something to say, Trey. Yeah, go for it, buddy.
It's so second nature on that at this point, where, I'm glad Jordan brought that up, because that is absolutely a top correlation from the military over to the business side, to the point where now significant stressing events are not, I just don't see it that way. Yes, there is stress, absolutely, but to be able to still think critically and make sound decisions and have discourse about, certain items or topics of discussion, I think we're able to more quickly get to an end state or a decision or a result because of all past shared experiences, as Jordan was just mentioning. So that's a very strong, direct correlation, I would say, from the military.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we're, talking about the military, you guys have been in this a long time, and you talk about this. You mentioned like this resilience and high standard and mission focus, right? Like you're like, that's kind of an unspoken thing in the military, but like what we're experiencing with the workforce and with people is walking into a business. It's not a life and death situation. And you say, Josh, I want you to make 100 calls a day on your acquisition team or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, I don't feel like it. Or like, I'm having a bad day. I've got a bad hair day, or, you know, whatever the case may be. In the military, that's a no-go, right? Like you have to show up because your team's life depends on it. Jordan, how do you guys take what you've learned in the military and apply it to how do you lead people where they don't really have to listen to you? They have an option of quitting or not joining the team or saying
Yeah.
no. How do you do that?
No, that's a really good question, because like full transparency is we've really struggled with it. And and we've had to like kind of purge and rebuild our team of employees because of our maybe immaturity in leadership, coupled with, you know, making quick hire decisions, but just I guess having patience for the personability in the relationship has been important for us to grow into and learn. Because like Trey said, I mean, we're coming from a culture where it's like, hey, I outrank you, like this is what you got to do. Like the purpose and mission is clear, like we're defending the country, like we don't need to talk about that. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing an American flag on your shoulder, so like just look at that if you want to be reminded why you have to listen to me. And now we're going into, like you said, the an office where it's like, you know, they can go look on Indeed for a job at any moment, and they're going to probably get paid this similar, and they can hop around every couple of years. And if they don't like their employer, then fine. Like I'm gonna be mediocre until I get fired, so I can get a few weeks of severance and go and do my thing. So we've all that to say is we've had a lot to learn on that, and really building a program in our company called, like, and there's a book about it called the Dream Manager Program. Has been
Yeah.
a big priority for us lately. And
Oh, yeah.
understanding like the person in the company as the most valuable resource and asset of the company, instead of like the military or army, like a number who's like, okay, like you go and execute, this is your role based on your rank, this is what you do, like rehearse, like execute, and then improve, and go do it again, because failure is not an option. Now it's like there's this living, breathing human that's our biggest asset, and they can go and turn any direction at any time. And we want to be aligned with them. We want to understand their long-term vision, their short-term goals, and we want to help them develop just as much, like their human experience develop just as much as our business. Because if they
Yeah.
feel motivated and aligned with their life and how the business fits into their life, then they're going to want to stay and they're going to want to perform. So that was the biggest switch we had to make, and now we have the infrastructure to really prioritize that.
Yeah. Not to start a brawl between you two, but which one of you is more badass? Like you both have gone through similar training. You guys are both really tough dudes, you know,
Definitely
like
Trey.
yeah, okay.
It's definitely Trey.
Trey, would you agree?
On the military side for sure. Although I will say, like with physical like endurance events, I push myself pretty hard in like 100-mile
Yeah.
ultra marathons and stuff like that. But Trey is definitely like the Captain America of the two of us.
Cool. All right. So then I'll ask this question for Trey. So you're the more badass of the group. So you come in and here comes the leadership and you're like, all right, acquisitions. We've got, you know, what is the name of the group? My Tennessee Home Buyers, right? So you guys are doing, oh no, My Tennessee Home Solutions, pardon me.
Yep.
And you guys are, you know, you're doing real estate investing and you guys are looking to investing, you know, service-based businesses and all these cool things, right? But this badass dude comes from the military and leading people. And then you find out that it didn't work. Your military, you know, training of leadership is different, a little different in the business world. And then here you get this book called Dream Manager, which is a really good book, but now you're dealing with people's dreams and feelings. How did that affect you, right? Like, this is my gun, right? Go, versus like, here's a phone, here's your work, here's your, like, how did you have to shift as a leader?
I know Jordan's laughing inside right now. This is an ongoing transition, right, for me mentally, and as a person, as a leader, that I'm definitely very aware of, and I'm becoming more intentional about it. You know, I pray about it. I kind of prior to calls or whatnot, like how do I
affirmations,
yeah,
prayer affirmations,
yeah,
like this is a human, not a person, not a number. This is a human, not a
yeah,
number.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and how am I going to communicate to the group, to the individual, in public, one-on-one, and things like that. But it really, the systems that we built around it is what's helping the most. We focus so hard on lead measures with everyone, and everyone's accountable for their own lead measures. And so when we do our weekly syncs, that alone, I don't have to step in and say anything. Everyone can see, what are you actually doing during your week, right? Are you accountable to your own lead measures, which are the inputs in which they put in? And then second to that, at a monthly rhythm, doing what we call our alignment huddles, where I'm able to go one-on-one. I mean, I did it yesterday too with that exact person you're talking about, Josh. And so able to, get a better understanding of what is your 3-year vivid vision? Like where are you right now? Like, are we aligned still? What are your thoughts? What's your feedback from me? What you're doing well, what you need to work on. And then also, get a rating scale of where are you right now with your family, your health, your community involvement, and get a monthly essential kind of pulse check really of, okay, where are we trending at right now with this person? And are they off track? Well, now instead of waiting to the end of the quarter or the end of the year, right? It's monthly rhythms of ensuring that we're aligned. So I think those systems alone is like really helping a lot, and it's extremely healthy and necessary for our company.
Yeah. So you guys are friends. You guys have been through a lot of training together and training exercises, and you guys have seen each other in each other's best and probably each other's worst. And then building a business together, it's a different type of stress. It's a different type of relationship between business partners. It's intimate. It's weird. I ran into fires with my fellow firefighter, and there's a relationship there. And then I have business partners, and there's it's different, but it's good. Jordan, to you, in terms of the business partnership that you have, you guys formed together and you're like, let's do this together. Here's some of the successes I've had in real estate. I need you, Trey, to bring your skill sets to this group. Jordan, what are the skill sets and roles and responsibilities that you bring? And then what do you think are the roles and responsibilities that Trey brings well?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We've fortunately been very intentional about that, and through like personality assessments, everyone that comes on the board does a disc assessment and Clifton strengths, and we understand how people tick. And then on top of that, the Trey and I, and then we have one other business partner, Briar, who's with us as well. We have a business coach who coaches us on a rhythmic basis and really helps us see other perspectives and adapt the way we're thinking to work with each other. And then we also on the personal side, right, through not only church community, but then I've counseling, and I will always see a counselor or therapist. And because for me, it's not even about, oh, I'm not having marital problems. To me, a therapist or counselor is preventative about really how I navigate the world and build relationships with other people, and how I see those relationships and how I handle them. And so whether you talk about attachment styles or insecurities, right, or narratives limiting beliefs or narratives that you built from childhood, I think a focus on that is always super important. And regardless of if you're having problems or not, there's always going to be problems eventually. And so you might as well posture for success and understand how you operate and what your biases are. So all that to say is, with us specifically, we definitely differ in a great way, because I'm more of and there's a term that we'll use, visionary, where Trey's more of the integrator. But on a deeper level, Trey is very systems and process oriented, and wants to really go through the steps and do things the way we've outlined, or the way things should be done with a formula. Whereas I'm more kind of firing from the hip, all over the place. We got it. We're going to make it happen. Very maybe naively optimistic, and just just kind of shouting things out, sometimes over promising, getting everyone going, and like, we're
Go,
gonna
go,
figure it
go.
out. Don't
Cheerleader.
worry. Don't worry. It's gonna happen. Like, we're gonna find a way. It always works. And so, like, because that's been my experience. Like, it always works. Like, we're gonna make it happen. We have these big ideas. There's people who understand, like, let's make it happen. Trey's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this is not how I operate. And we need to go through the process and make this happen properly.
So good. And this is so funny because Trey, you guys might just be listening in and you can't see the looks that each other are given because they're laughing because they had to learn this
Yeah.
maybe the hard way, and there were some hard lessons in there. But you're referring to the EOS operating system, visionary integrator. Gino Wickman did a great job putting together. David Mann and his group, the Firefly groups, are doing an incredible job at scaling that organization. And I always go back to refer to when I'm looking at someone, I'm like visionary integrator. E-Myth Revisited had a few different categories and such like that. But great way to think about how people are wired.
Yeah.
I saw you shaking your head, Trey, like and laughing as he's talking about integrator. Being an integrator, one of your jobs, which is kind of a crappy job, is to give guide rails and a healthy boundary for the visionary to thrive. But sometimes the integrator works himself out of the job because they build awesome systems and processes, and sometimes they're the Debbie Downers or the Eeyores of going, hey, no, we can't do that because of this and that. Trey, you're nodding your head and laughing. Like people might be watching this on on YouTube. How does that resonate with you?
Oh, that's just spot on. That's so fun. I mean, but it's such a good balance.
Yeah.
Where again, refer back to EOS. If we have topics on our issue, discuss, solve, right, our IDS portion in our meetings, those are going to be the perspectives that Jordan and I, discuss and work around, right? But also more importantly, if we want to have success, we want to grow, we want to have additional outside influence and external opportunities, right? Jordan's got to be in a position where he's able to do that, where he's going to thrive and be energized and have the ability to do that. And I have energy and thrive and enjoy, managing, working systems, process, and then seeing the machine get built and then letting it flow and work. And so it really comes down to, yes, the personality, but then also, we want to leave the military to have a business that is, self-running, that we're not able to, or that we're able to flourish off of and enjoy. And so why do the jobs and the positions in which we don't get energized from?
So good. Energy is such a misunderstood, a misvalued resource because a lot of times we'll go I'm a visionary and I'm an opportunistic visionary. So like I'll see something and I'll run 1,000 miles towards something, and sometimes I catch the thing and I do the work and I'm making money, but man, is it a grind? And I'm looking at it and I go, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Trey, because you're the the visionary, not Trey, I'm sorry, Jordan, the visionary of the group. Money is great, making revenue is awesome, but there's something to a visionary's energy that must be balanced in that as well. Jordan, how have you guys figured the balance of that and figured how to most maximize that?
I think we're still trying to figure it out. And that was Trey's point early on when I was talking about opportunities ahead. Now that we have such synergy, such systems built, and confidence in what we can do, it's just like me wanting to go start 3 more businesses over the next year, and Trey like knowing the work that goes into that, maybe more so than I do, because he's building the machine, and I'm just like smiling and nodding and looking to the next thing. But it's like that balance is hard, and we gotta make sure we're not chasing shiny objects and getting distracted by like properly building the machine before we transition some of our focus to the next one. And so that's the point we're at now, and making sure, again, through mentorship and coaching, that we make the most informed decisions possible, and not let me like carry the momentum, because I'll go too fast. Like if I wasn't working with Trey, like I would have fallen down like 5 times and maybe gotten back up, but we haven't fallen down because we have controlled growth, and we're doing it deliberately and intentionally, and that's because of Trey. And so that's been huge. And the energy piece is like I find ways to like Trey lets me I guess build new opportunities out and get things going and I find a lot of energy from that. So I think we have a good balance of being able to do that. And he lets me build out new opportunities and make it happen. But then he also pulls me back when it's too much.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I wanted to say was just the visionary integrator combination. I think it's the hardest to it's the highest risk relationship, but it's the most potential relationship
Mm.
because like if if we didn't figure out how to communicate and understand each other, um
Yeah.
we disagree the most. Like Trey and I have the most arguments out of like anyone in the company. Like it's mainly internal between us, like no one else sees it. But like I know we have the most arguments and disagreements because we think so differently. And so like but as we've overcome that over the last 2 3 years, like learned how to communicate to each other and understand each other, like now we're at a point where the potential is unlimited because we not that it's over, we're always like improving our relationship, but we have like a that period that every relationship has, whether a marriage or a business partnership, where it's like, oh, like dude, are we going to break up? Like we just see the world so differently. And now
Yeah.
it's like now we've overcome that over the last months and years, and it's like it's really cool now to have that potential together and figured each other out.
This is so valuable. You guys sharing openly about this because people will look and they
Yeah.
go, "Wow, 2 million in revenue, and you guys are building and scaling like fast, and you guys are doing some amazing stuff." And officers in the military, these guys got their shit together, and look, they're looking to invest in all this stuff. But a lot of times in a business partnership, it's very different. In the fire service or the military, captain tells you to do something, it's yes,
Right.
and then go execute. And you could argue
Yeah.
later on, right? Unless
Yeah.
it's a life and death thing, and then you could maybe. But in the business world, arguments are weird and emotions are involved, and people don't have to show up to work. So let's do this. Let's Trey,
Gosh.
you see this is gonna be a fun one. You see an argument about to happen, right? And it's just there's a misalignment, mission, vision, values. There's a misalignment, and there's an argument about to pursue between you and Jordan. How do you guys approach that in a healthy way? Or how did you approach it past unhealthily?
Mm-hmm.
And how have you learned to do it healthy way?
Yeah, it's super. I mean, it really correlated to a relationship, long distance relationship, right? You just texting, not like how are you going to perceive or read a message, right? And I think because we were still balancing Army job and Army work. You can't just step off, get on the phone, or step off, get on Zoom, or just drive over, right? So heavy reliance on just lead by text, which is horrible. And now, simple solutions, daily huddles at the same time every day. We're getting on FaceTime or Zoom, voice memos, just so you can hear tone, talk through certain situations, especially right before, if it's a critical decision, or, we hit the brakes and like, hey, this will be a topic on our IDS. So when we meet for that weekly sync, we can be a little bit more deliberate and come to that meeting with a little bit more of a thought out, fleshed out way of doing things. And that whole, what I'm just describing is something that we're going through that growth stage on. Because, and again, having our business coach is a huge asset. Absolutely. Kind of being a facilitator and doing his one-on-ones with us, and then doing the group calls with us every month. All of that, just the full combination is really kind of helping us continue to have steady growth, and then identifying where, the pain points are internally.
Yeah. And the long distance piece is something I think we're super proud of. Like we were able to build this business while we were like in the Army. So we were all virtually working together, hiring employees and like building systems that like we could do it all. Like we weren't slacking. Like we were prioritizing the Army and our job there.
Yeah.
We were crushing it. Like I'm just like we were going all in, but then we still had the capacity and bandwidth, but mainly the systems and communication to work on nights and weekends and like build this over time. Now it's a machine that really is growing a bit faster than we can keep up, which is why we're exiting the military. But doing it virtually and having a long distance relationship, like business partnerships are hard, but long distance relationships with business partnerships with millions of dollars flowing through and making $1 million decisions is a lot. So yeah, the biggest answer is just not texting each other. And it sounds simple and stupid, but it's honestly the simplest fix is when we hang out together, there's never any issues. Like we can you can read tone and so we use emojis and we record our voice instead of sending texts. And that's how you solve the problem, really.
Yeah,
It's
a
been
cute
huge for
little
us.
emoji kiss. Like,
Yes.
love you.
I don't know about a kiss, but at least just like a laugh face or a smile or like whatever, like or the frustration with the air blowing out of the nose. It just makes it more
Yeah.
personable than like why are we doing this or why is it happening or like I don't like this, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. You mentioned coaching and therapy, and that Jordan, you mentioned like openly, like, hey, I go to therapy and coaching, and you guys have a business coach and such like that.
Yeah.
You rewind. How old are you guys?
I'm 28.
Okay, 28
30.
and 28 and 30. You rewind to like 18 years old and your most badass of days, right? Like unstoppable, and you're like, hey, one day you're gonna work with a therapist or a coach or a counselor.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get to the point, Jordan, where you were open to therapy and coaching and counseling? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I think um I mean honestly I can't really pinpoint the point that I was like, okay, this is awesome. It just for me, I think self-awareness and self-actualization has been somehow in my journey has become a priority. And I think a lot of times through reading books and podcasts, and for me, placing value over everything on my mindset and my human capital has been like treating my mindset and the way I navigate the world as my biggest resource for myself. And like, okay, like how do I nurture that and grow it? It's going to be through therapy. It's going to be through coaching. And like as I dove into it, just realizing the results spoke for themselves and uncovering like childhood, perspectives and experiences that were leading to my current flaws and relationships. Like in having a like even when I was dating my now wife, like I had an insecure attachment style, which is similar to like being jealous or anxious because of like having inconsistent love growing up or whatever. And so understanding like how that affected my relationship and then turned into other insecurities. And it's just so empowering and like so cool to like overcome that stuff and then develop secure attachment styles and learn and grow and then to inspire others to do the same. Because the other part of it for me was being in the military and seeing such like broken like these
Yeah.
grown dudes who have the facade of like I can do anything.
Yep.
I have a ton of muscle and I'm a meat eater, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, they're broken and
Yep.
traumatized inside. And being able to like I guess share and inspire them to like uncover those traumas and figure out why they're being held back has been really cool. So yeah, all that to say is now I rave about it to everybody because of
Yeah.
how it's changed my life and more importantly too, like just I feel like God has called me to, you know, um, to be transparent and open and honest with like me going through that and having that experience and being like okay with my identity and not trying to like hide like that I have weaknesses so that other people can do the same.
So for a visionary, that's a huge hurdle to overcome, is hurdle of self, because as
Yeah.
a visionary, as a natural visionary, ego is a
Yep.
driver,
Yep.
pride
Yeah.
Yeah.
is a driver. Um, and for you to go, I need help and I need to get better because I'm on a mission and a purpose. Like I feel God called me to, or I
Yeah.
see where I'm heading.
Yeah.
I must overcome self. That's hard. So you're working through that. Kudos to you, man. And that you're openly willing to talk about it because, we're supposed to hold this facade. We're business leaders and investors and badass dudes with muscles and tattoos and,
Yeah, exactly.
some work experience and some bars on our shoulders or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I've interviewed 1,000 people, including, guys like you and Navy SEALs and this and that, and fill in the blanks. And we're all just looking to be significant, find
Yep.
approval and acceptance.
Yep.
Yep.
Like we're all striving for those things and we
Yeah.
just do it in different ways. If you go through past trauma and you don't fix it, you find those things in unhealthy ways. So Trey, to you guys have a coach that kind of helps go, all right, Trey, as you're talking to people, like, like we're not running towards a bunker, taking a bunker with
Yeah.
hand grenades and machine guns, right? Like we're accomplishing different missions, different ways. But one of being the integrator, part of the integrator's like challenge is what I've seen is sometimes the visionary is the front person, the person who gets all the attention, gets the accolades, gets the closes the big deals and is on fire and such like that. And sometimes the integrator is dragged along, right? Is this like accurate for you guys? Have you guys had to learn through that? Is that something that, like, how did that resonate with you, or am I way off?
Well, I think a way that we kind of, I've not ever really realized that or seen that as, an issue by any means. I personally like encourage Jordan to do more of that, for one. And
Because
then
you're a secure
also,
man. That's why you're a secure dude. That's why you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
no,
Rookie
well,
move, Josh. You don't interrupt people on a podcast show, but I just wanted to highlight you.
Yeah,
You're
but it's
awesome.
funny because I feel like because I'm also secure, like I don't care about the spotlight or attention. Sometimes Trey's like, dude, like need you to own the CEO title. Like I need you to go post more on social media. I need you to go
It's 12
I
o'clock.
need you to go talk to people. I need you to like rave about our brand. I'm like, I don't want to I don't want to beg for attention. I don't want to like wait, let's just do our thing and crush it. And so it's funny because I give Trey as much as the spotlight as me, even though usually a visionary would want all the spotlight.
Wow.
And that's not me saying like, whatever, I'm so much cooler, but just like it's just not something I care about. And Trey gets frustrated about it.
So Trey, how does that show up for you? Like to encourage him, right? Because a part of your makeup is seeing the value of the visionary to step into that leadership role, to gain the influence and the attention so you could accomplish bigger things. Like you see the power of it.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that you're learning as an integrator on how to help the visionary become the best version of the visionary self?
Yeah, I think right now what we're experiencing, especially with just the My Tennessee Home Solution brand, right? We're really empowering our own team members really to be on the camera, to be the voices of the company, because that's who everyone's talking with and dealing with for the most part. That's who is going to the houses, shaking hands, going to the closing table. And so I think we understand that, and we were wanting to empower, everyone on our team to have a face and a voice, right, with the brand. And then a great example, I think right now, Jordan's spearheading a huge investor meetup in downtown Nashville, right? And so that is something on my end. I'm trying also to get out as many invitations and reach out to people I know and work with or trust or know that's an action taker and a go-getter, right? And so it's those kind of things, right? Especially at kind of a quarterly rhythm, where we can have a lot of impact and really compound relationships and opportunities by doing that. And so I think we're realizing it more over time, because again, we've been in this transition, right, where we're in the day-to-day, we're building, we're setting, we're growing and figuring things out. And now it's like, okay, let's start really hitting hard at the task really of what should I do as a CEO? What should I do as a COO? And we're really starting to hit that ramp and move from there really.
And Trey does a really good job too, like of in our monthly alignment huddles, he'll give me that feedback. But more importantly, right, the integrator in him, he'll weave in certain things to my lead measures, like post on social media twice a week or invite 10 people to an investor meetup a month, like whatever, so that like it is systematic and I am doing it as part of my obligation in that role. And so I would say that's a good way too, that he like enforces accountability and growth on that.
Yeah, nice work. Now, this show is called The Deal Scout, and we talk a lot about the deal maker, the deal maker's journey, how deal makers best work together. And I think one of the surprises as my listeners are listening in is we just don't talk tactically about like, hey, this is our process in buying house. Step one, we build the list. Step two, we do outreach. Step three, like that is good processes in our audience. If they want to know your process and where you guys buy homes and all that kind of stuff and how you guys do business, they could connect with you, and we'll give plenty of opportunity for you guys to say this is how to do it. But one of the things that I value most when I'm talking to other deal makers how'd you do it? Like, what did you have to overcome? How do I become a better leader from interviewing people and by hearing the stories? And how could I apply that to my deal making machine to grow, because I have a mission and a vision and an impact that I want to see. So let's back into this. Jordan, where could people go? Deal makers in the audience, where could people go to connect with you guys and do a deal?
So there's three ways. One, LinkedIn. Find me, Jordan Isham, on LinkedIn, or Trey Chandler on LinkedIn. And then second, Facebook, same name. Lastly, just email Jordan dot outlook Jordan.isham at outlook.com. I just wanted to give those three, but yeah, basically social media or email.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So as we're going through this, Trey, where do why are you guys grinding so much? You're getting out of the military. You probably guys, have some success there, and you guys were officers, so you guys got, decent benefits and such like that. Or maybe I'm making assumptions, I don't know. But you guys are building a multi-million-dollar business, and you guys are driving hard towards this. Like, what is your motive? Like, what's your currency? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's very simple for me. And these are things too that we talk about openly internally as well. And I'm thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it as well outwardly. And so, what are the drivers for ourselves, right? And we actually had a recent conversation with our business coach about this. And for me, it's, growing up, unfortunately, lost my father at a young age. So no father figure, from age 6 to 30. And now I'm, right about to have my first child. And so
Like
this,
tonight, like he's about to have a
yeah,
child tonight. I know he's going to the
yeah,
hospital at 11 p.m.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's huge and
Yeah.
scary at the
Just
same
crushing
time,
a
right?
podcast is on his last day as a
Yeah.
without children.
Yeah. Wow.
So really, it just comes down to, I want to have presence. I want to have the ability to, shape, mold, and mentor, my first son, how essentially how I see fit, like lead him on a path that brings him to God and Jesus. And so my Intensity Home Solution has been the foundation in which is giving me that opportunity to feel comfortable to leave, an organization that was safe in the sense of you're getting paid every 2 weeks, you have benefits, et cetera. Right. And so, and I feel totally comfortable being able to do that because of the work and the grind, as you will, that we've been putting in when we were first starting, and now able to start hiring those roles out and understand how to do that appropriately.
So good. So since you're Charles III, you're Trey, is this guy going to be Quad?
No.
Okay, got it.
But remember, I said I love the short 4-letter word name. So Jack.
Jack, I like it. Like Jack Reacher. Like, have you seen that show? That's a really
I
good
actually
show.
have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if he's named after that Jack. Where
No.
does which Jack is he named after?
Again, it just flowed well. Jack Chandler.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. Uh, for you, Jordan, like what drives you, right? Like we hear Trey's driver, right? From losing father at early age, now going to be a father and wants to instill hard work ethic and mission and value and leadership into his son and pass this stuff down, right? Which is a great driver because it's impactful and you could see it, right? Like
Yeah.
what's your driver?
Yeah. I definitely think, like most people, my driver has changed over the years. For me, early on, it was I was the underdog. So it was the underdog story. I grew up like lower to middle class, and um fought my way to get into West Point. Didn't even get accepted the first time, and was like, no, I'm gonna go no matter what. I know it's gonna change my life. And then just took in all the opportunities there that I could, and on the boxing team and traveling and involved in different organizations that I was leading, and then obviously to become an infantry officer now, much more secure in who I am. It's less about the underdog that I need to prove myself to the world, and it's more about my relationship with Jesus, and using my strengths as a leader in the community and in the business world to be able to help people on this journey of self-actualization, whether through Jesus or not. And this is why I get so passionate about mindset and coaching and counseling, is because I just feel like this is something I'm called to like talk about and to help people on their personal journeys towards. And so the other thing is I just don't usually play by the rules, and I don't like being told what to do. So I wanted to have an environment in which I could thrive with my energy and my like flexibility of schedule, right, to operate my own business and do that with Trey, where we can have freedom of time to live life on our terms, but then also to go and use that time not for fancy cars, not for fancy houses, not for vacation, but for like being able to just capitalize on my strengths in the best way possible. I think if everybody were left to their own, complete freedom of time, like, and they felt so called on a purpose, they would just be dangerous in the world with like in a good way. And so I know that if I can free up my time, that my purpose in life is so clear and my mission is so clear that I'm going to be dangerous with that time. And so that's what it's about.
Super cool. Jordan, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Trey. What question do you wish I would have asked you during this interview?
Oh, sorry, it's me first. My bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
a blank stare went on his face.
I was like, he's asking Trey, so now I get time to think. So no,
I get time to think.
I would probably say like, biggest advice that you would give to people, and I think it's kind of clear how I would answer that about mindset. But then the other point I like to make too is just about choosing who you marry. Like, what is one of the biggest decisions someone can make, and like just the impact for me that my wife has had on my life and my journey, and just the support system is like has been that like part of my growth and fulfillment in life that like can't be met by anything else. So I just think that's not talked about enough. Like, just you date someone, you get married and call it a day, but it's just like the gravity of that decision. And luckily Trey and I have been fortunate to find the right people is just probably one of the biggest decisions someone can make in their life. So making sure that you're mature in who you are and self-actualized before you make that decision, so that it's aligned.
Yeah. What about you, Trey? What question do you wish I would have asked you during this interview?
Well, you can't really top what Jordan said. So
Yeah.
now when my wife listens to this, she's going to wonder why I didn't say it.
Yeah, got it. So are you just saying ditto?
No, I'll bring it back to the deal piece. Probably let's go with, what are we aiming for next? What could we get help for, or what are we looking to do? And just to kind of quickly, I guess, gloss over it for the highlights is, we're building that foundation with My Tennessee Home Solution. We're getting after it with the off-market acquisition, that whole process, right, from lead generation to conversion to exit strategy. And now we're looking to try to get vertically integrated with a remodeling company, right? And so what does that look like? How are you, essentially starting from scratch, but with a trusted and vetted operator, and then having an opportunity to acquire a new company, right? Which was kind of like a offshoot off of the hotel acquisition we did. That's how that kind of got introduced to us. And so now we're presented with some great opportunity, right? And it kind of just, again, goes back to, is the bridge built enough on our foundation where we can extend bandwidth to accomplish, new ventures, right? And so, guidance through that and getting aligned with the right people that have that experience and know-how. And then I think that right now that's where the point we're in, like today, where we're talking about actively and the next steps we're looking for.
I love it. I love it. So fellow deal makers in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests, say thanks for being on the show. Their contact information will be in the show notes below, so you don't have to, try to figure out, how to connect with them. Just go to their show notes. Let's end with a question I like to throw in every once in a while. Trey, if I picked up your phone and scrolled through the last 20 years of your most played song, what is your most played song in your playlist from the last 20 years?
It's some version of a Blink-182 song.
Okay, gotcha. And then you, Jordan, if I scrolled through your phone, What is your most played song ever?
I would say Blink 182 was probably be like second or third, but there was a song I used to always listen to called All the Above by Mano featuring T-Pain. I haven't
Oh,
listened to it in a while, but that was my that was the underdog song for, from age, let's say,
Mm.
16 to age 24. So that was probably it.
so T-Pain Underdog, or what's it called?
It's called All the Above.
I'll take a listen to it.
Oh, please do. It'll
Got it. Awesome, man. Guys, thanks for being on the show. Like I had a blast and I really valued your input, your advice, the wisdom that you guys have accumulated and now sharing with the community. We look forward to future content that you guys create and the future lessons and things that you've learned from military to transition to business world and business leaders and investors. Like that journey is valuable, and I just want to encourage you guys to share that and let that be a part of the impact that you guys have on the world of deal makers. Fellow deal makers in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests, say thank you, and if you have a deal or maybe a journey that you want to share and you have some advice for other deal makers and you're like, I think people need to hear this stuff, and maybe it's on mindset, maybe it's on failure, maybe it's on identity, maybe it's on purpose, whatever it is. But if you've got some golden nuggets to share, head over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, maybe we'll get you on the show next. Till then, we'll talk to you on the next episode. See you guys.